Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Random Robot Does Something Random. Today we'll be making the no-knead bread or lazy bread and see if it is as easy as they say it is. So we're going to need 500 grams bread flour, 120 grams whole wheat flour, 560 milliliters of water, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1.5 teaspoons salt, and 1 teaspoon of yeast. So we're going to mix our flours together along with our salt. And we'll just mix the dry ingredients together here. Now I'm going to mix the 2 tablespoons of honey into the room temperature water. And we're just going to mix this till it dissolves. You could add your yeast in with the other dry ingredients, but I always prefer to hydrate my yeast before putting it in. So I'm just going to mix the yeast into the water honey mixture. And once that's all combined, we're just going to dump it into our flour. I'm just stirring a little bit in at a time right now, just to avoid splashing. And we're just going to mix this until we can no longer see any dry flour. So we're just going to cover that with some saran wrap. Now you're going to need 2 things later. You're going to need some kind of pot with a lid that's oven safe, and something around the same dimensions as the pot. Now, after the dough has been sitting for about 18 to 24 hours, so I just have a small piece of parchment paper that we're going to use to line our bowl with. And I'm just going to use some all-purpose flour to dust onto my scraper here and on my fingers. And I'm going to very gently pull the dough towards myself and flouring the back side of it. And I'm trying to fold it into a shape while being gentle, not to push any of the air out of the dough. So just keep turning the bowl, lightly flouring the side you both just pulled towards yourself, and pulling the edges towards the center. And again, we're trying to maintain those air bubbles. Again, pull towards you, and then you're going to just lightly flour the back side of it until you get a nice shape. So once we folded it over a few times here, we're just going to pick it up and put it right on top of the parchment paper. And I'm just going to lightly dust the top with flour. And we're going to cover it in some saran wrap, and I'm going to put a towel on it, and I'm going to forget about it for 2 hours at least. Now, before we get to this stage, you got to preheat your oven and put the pot that you're going to cook everything in to 410 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 210 degrees Celsius. Making sure you have your oven mitts ready, I'm going to go grab the pot and we're going to put the dough in it. So I'm just going to gently pick it up by the parchment paper here and put it into the pot. Now we're going to place the lid back on, making sure to use our oven mitts. So we're going to bake this for 25 minutes with the lid on. If you want a thicker crust, you would sprinkle the dough with a little bit of water prior to putting the lid on.
Self-destruct sequence will initiate in
25 minutes. So after the 25 minutes has elapsed, we're going to remove the lid. And we're going to bake it for an additional 18 minutes. We are also going to reduce the heat to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius. After that time, we're going to simply remove the bread from the pot. And we'll remove the parchment paper and let it cool at room temperature on a wire rack. So I found this actual lazy bread quite forgiving. I left it actually longer than 24 hours on my initial proof, and it turned out quite well. Let's give it a cut here. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Random Robot. Thanks again for watching.